You don't disappear because you don't care. You disappear because closeness can feel like a spotlight on parts of you you've spent years trying to keep calm, hidden, untouched. And the strange part is, people often call you cold when really you're overwhelmed. They call you detached when really you've just learned how to survive by needing less, showing less, asking for less. So if you've ever gone quiet right when something started to matter, this is going to feel uncomfortably familiar. Picture this. Someone texts you something sweet, maybe even simple. They say they miss you. They want to see you. Nothing aggressive, nothing dramatic, but your chest tightens anyway. You stare at the message. You tell yourself you'll reply later. Later turns into hours. Then guilt shows up. Then distance. Then that old script starts playing in your head. Why does this feel like pressure when it should feel good? Or maybe you're with someone in person. The vibe is warm, easy, almost too easy. And instead of relaxing, you start scanning for exits. You make a joke. You change the subject. You suddenly remember a task, an errand, a reason to leave your own feelings outside in the parking lot. It looks random from the outside. It isn't. Here's what's really happening. An avoidant attachment style often isn't about not wanting love. It's about what your system learned love might cost. Space, control, safety, self-protection. What looks like distance can actually be adaptation. What looks like indifference can be a nervous system trying to stay ahead of disappointment, engulfment, or emotional debt. And once you see the pattern, the behavior stops looking irrational. It starts looking intelligent. So let's break down the signs, because the first two are obvious, but the deeper ones are where it gets weird. Number 1. You crave connection until it becomes real. When love is abstract, it feels beautiful. You can imagine intimacy, loyalty, deep conversations at 2 a.m. But when someone actually gets closer, your body can read that as risk instead of relief. Not because they did something wrong, but because real closeness removes the buffer. It's like loving the idea of the ocean until the water touches your ribs, and suddenly you remember how deep it is. You're not heartless, you're bracing. You're not rejecting intimacy, you're reacting to exposure.
And that leads to the next sign, which hides inside your independence.
Number 2. You wear self-sufficiency like armor. You're the one who says, "I'm fine, I got it, don't worry about me." And sometimes that strength is real, but sometimes it's a locked door with good branding. You learned early that relying on people can feel risky, messy, or disappointing. So you built a life where needing less became a kind of power. The problem is, armor doesn't just block pain, it also blocks warmth. So you become the person who can carry everything alone and still feel strangely untouched by your own life. You're not strong because you feel nothing. You're strong because you learned how to function without being held. But here's the part people miss. The more capable you look, the easier it is for others to miss how hard closeness actually feels for you. Number 3. You can be deeply attracted to unavailable people. This is one of the most confusing signs because it feels like passion, chemistry, fate. But often, unavailable people feel safer precisely because they can't fully get in. They let you orbit intimacy without having to land inside it. Your system gets to stay activated, but protected. Longing becomes easier than receiving. Fantasy becomes easier than maintenance. It's like standing outside a warm house in winter and telling yourself you prefer the cold because at least the cold is predictable. You're not choosing the wrong people because you're broken. You're choosing familiar emotional distance because your body knows how to survive there. And that pattern connects to something even subtler. Number 4, you shut down when emotions get too intense. Not always dramatically. Sometimes it looks polished. You become logical, flat, tired, distracted. You suddenly need space, not because space is bad, but because intensity floods your system faster than you can process it. This is where nervous system patterns matter. When emotional closeness starts to feel like overstimulation, your body may move into protection mode before your mind has words for it. You may call it needing freedom, but underneath it can be threat detection. Too many texts, too much affection, too many expectations, and your inner alarm starts acting like somebody opened 10 tabs in your brain at once. So you mute, delay, minimize, leave. You're not uncaring. You're overloaded. You're not impossible to love. You're sensitive to pressure in ways most people never see. And that sensitivity creates the 5th sign, the one that hurts the most. Number 5. You often realize how much someone mattered after distance is already created. While connection is happening, you may feel numb, unsure, restless, or trapped. But once the person pulls back, leaves, or stops reaching, your clarity rushes in. Suddenly you miss them. Suddenly you feel everything. Suddenly your heart sends a memo your defenses forgot to approve. Why? Because space can feel safer than closeness, and safety gives buried feelings room to rise. It's the cruel little paradox of avoidance. Sometimes you can feel love more clearly when it's no longer asking anything from you. You're not fake. You're delayed. You're not incapable of depth. You're often only able to access depth when the pressure drops. And that brings us to the contradiction at the center of all this. Here's the beautiful contradiction. You can look emotionally distant and still feel everything with frightening depth. You can act guarded and still secretly want soul-level closeness. You can need space and still be aching to be understood without having to explain yourself. That's what makes this pattern so lonely. People see the wall, but they don't see the tenderness inside the wall. They see the pause, but not the panic. They see you pulling away, but not the part of you that wonders why love feels easiest right before you lose it. You are not a shallow person with deep aesthetics. You are often a deep person with careful exits. But grounded caution matters here. Not every need for space is avoidance, and not every avoidant pattern is harmless. Sometimes protecting yourself can quietly turn into pre-rejecting people before they get close enough to matter. Sometimes, "I just need room" becomes a story that keeps you safe from discomfort, but also safe from being known. And safety, taken too far, can start to look a lot like self-sabotage in a very elegant outfit. So the reframe isn't to shame yourself for needing distance. It's to get honest about whether that distance is helping you breathe or helping you hide. There's a difference. One is regulation. The other is disappearance. And maybe that's the real relief here. You were never too much of a paradox to be loved. You were never too detached to care. You just learned to turn your heart into a private room with very strict entry rules. And maybe healing starts when you stop calling that flaw a personality and start seeing it as a strategy that once protected you, but doesn't always have to run the whole story now. Some people run toward love like it's home. You may have learned to approach it like it's fire. Slowly, carefully, one hand near the exit. But even that says something hopeful. It means you still move toward warmth, even now. So tell me in the comments, team pull away or team cling tighter? And if this hit a little too hard, the next thing you need to watch is why avoidant and anxious people keep attracting each other. Because that loop explains almost everything your relationships have been trying to teach you.